Hello class and welcome to this StarTropics 2 walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and StarTropics 2 is an admirable follow-up to its excellent predecessor. This was one of the final titles released for the NES, and as Fluff mentioned in our class on Mega Man 6, Zoda's Revenge StarTropics 2, to call it by its proper name, this game was actually heavily promoted with the top-loading NES in 1994. I'm sure Fluff will have more to say on that later, but StarTropics 2 plays a lot like the first game in many ways, with a few notable changes. Most notably, it almost feels a bit sacrilege, but Mike, our high school pitcher protagonist, can walk diagonally all of a sudden. Mike had a kind of Zoolander moment at some point between games, or maybe his baseball coach finally taught the team how to move diagonally. I can picture him gathering the team around, telling them all to take a knee, saying, we've lost a lot of games lately, and I think it might be because I never taught you how to move diagonally. It's very important in baseball, especially when running the bases, but I digress. This leads me into StarTropics 2's difficulty level. While it's easier to avoid damage in some cases with this game's diagonal, not to mention more fluid movement, they've upped the difficulty with certain enemies to kind of offset that, and platform jumping is completely untethered now versus the structure of the first game, with it being much easier to fall into pits at the cost of a life now if you don't land right. All of this together, and I think StarTropics 2 is very comparable to its predecessor in terms of difficulty, so I'm going to give Zoda's Revenge StarTropics 2 a 6 out of 10. On the frustration scale, this equates to biting and then throwing your controller, possibly due to some of that looser jumping which takes some getting used to, coming from the first game. It's great to be back in the world of StarTropics, though, I have to say. There's a playful silliness and a sense of fun that you don't get in a lot of games. The world feeling similar to another game which we recently covered in Link's Awakening. This time we're not island hopping so much as time hopping, traveling back to meet and aid famous figures, from helping King Arthur defeat a dragon to delivering a pepperoni pizza to Cleopatra. It will all make sense. Well, some sense at least as we get into it, but as usual, I've got all my TAs standing by to get us to the finish line. Blaze is covering the items and weapons we'll be collecting. Gary has tips on taking down every boss and mini-boss, and as I alluded to in opening, Fluff has some interesting facts and background on this game. So let's run the intro and get into this Zoda's Revenge StarTropics 2 walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Alright, as we get into the game, we're going to input our name. I believe we have an 8-character limit, so as per usual, we'll have to drop one of the S's in Professor. I think Professor has made more of a name for himself in these games than Professor has at this point. A lot of profs as well, but I digress as we take a look at the controls for StarTropics. Move with the D-pad, even diagonally this time around, as mentioned in opening. Jump with the A button, attack with B, pause the game with start, and while you're paused, you can press up and down to access any magical items you have, and then hit select to switch your weapon, if you've got a second weapon. We'll talk about that later, but we get caught up to speed now with Mike. Our uncle, the explorer and archaeologist Dr. Jones. No, not that Dr. Jones. Still busy at work trying to decode Cypher, and we got Micah, who we rescued from the first game, one of the alien children, the Argonians. Was it a cat I saw? What is it, a rat? Can't talk anymore. There's also a disturbing lack of bananas in ears in this game. And there he is, again, Mr. Littman, Dr. Jones, Uncle Jay. Couldn't get away with Indiana Jones, so Steve Jones. That works. Like the blah 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 blah. It's part of the sense of humor. Was it a rat I saw? Get it? No, I don't get it. What are you talking about? Is it backwards? Saw. Taratisa? Sure. Yeah, okay. There you go. That can help him crack the cipher. And if ripping off Indiana Jones wasn't enough, how about the obscure 1962 hit by the Rivingtons, Papa Ooh Mau Mau. So random. I think they used that in a Pringles commercial or something back in the day. I don't know how I know that song otherwise. It's some commercial. Leave a comment if you know what I'm talking about, because I don't think it was from the radio. But anyway, Mike thinking it would be a good idea to start touching the book, and now he of course gets thrown back in time. Another time and space. So that was a short chapter, no gameplay required in that one, aside from saying yes or no a couple times. Suddenly find ourselves in a foreign snowy land here. So there's nowhere to go except north here, so let's do just that. This guy will tell you, yes, there are holes here. So once you reach this field, follow this exact path to avoid the pitfalls. So up, right, up, left, left, up, left, down, down, left, down, left all the way. And we're home. I think I said that right. If I didn't, just follow the directions I did right there. Yeah, if you fall into one of those pits, you just gotta fight your way out. Getting yourself some weak rocks to toss at enemies, but ultimately you just need to make your way out. Inside the cave, you can talk to some of the locals. The main person you want to talk to is Tink, who is to the west when you come in, who will give us an axe. Do not miss this, because they'll let you leave here and enter the first dungeon area completely unarmed, so you can always exit and come back here, but still. Looks like the axe from Adventure Island, actually. In the northeast section of the cave, you'll find Picasso. Not Picasso, Picasso. A lot of fake-me-out versions of historical figures' names here in Zoda's Revenge. Well, this one at least. Also note the drawings on the wall up there. These correspond to the solution to a stretch in the upcoming dungeon, but thankfully they aren't random to each game, so you can just follow the route I take when I get there. There's the illustration. When you're ready, follow the northwest path and then southwest to head outside and into the first dungeon. But Blaze, just got ourselves an axe from Tink.
It's Blaze's best here in Item Sky. No yo-yo this go around. Mike will go through a variety of weapons in this game, beginning with the stone axe. It's not especially powerful, but it's just fine against the enemies you'll come across here, with the wild boars taking a single hit from it, the Gila monsters taking 2 hits, the snowmen taking 3, bears taking 5, and the brown bears taking 8 hits. We also have the rocks, which you won't even see if you avoided the pits, but these basically travel the distance of the stone axe for half of the damage. As will be the case with all secondary weapons, they don't transfer between chapters or even dungeons, so there's never any reason to set on them near the end of a dungeon or during a boss fight.
Good advice, thank you very much, Blaze. Making our way up here. Talk to some of the locals. Yum Yum lives north. And he gives you a little warning. Make sure you're properly armed. Have the axe with you, but we're entering our first dungeon here. The enemies get increasingly difficult in this first dungeon. First is just the wild boars, which, as Blaze mentioned, go down with a single hit from your axe. Like walking diagonally, it feels sacrilege that Mike didn't bring his yo-yo in this game, by the way. We'll get a variety of weapons to work with in this one. And defeat all the enemies on this screen, and then you'll hear a door opening back to the left. Make our way back here to grab ourselves a little insurance for this first dungeon in the form of some medicine. Yes, if you're familiar with the first game, then you know that, yeah, Mike moved in very specific one block at a time movements, and there was no diagonal jumping, so you need to take a lot of care lining your jumps up here in StarTropics 2. Here you need to go all the way around on this screen. Note that Mike's limit for jumping is 1 block, although it seems like he can barely make 2 blocks length. Nope. It's the same as the first game in that way. And while we're working our way through here, let's take a look at the Briggs notes for this StarTropics 2 walkthrough, the keys for beating this game. First, follow this guide. We'll show you the most efficient route through every dungeon, finding all the secrets, all the good stuff, all the hidden hearts, everything you need to know. Secondly, get used to the new style of movement. There is a bit of a learning curve, especially around those pits, platforms, things like that. Use the best weapon for each situation. We'll talk about that as we go. And lastly, use Gary's boss beaters as always to make the bosses in this game much more manageable, much easier, and have a nice little stretch of platforming right here where you can get used to the new controls. Couldn't have done that in the first game. So just up ahead, we'll have to use the illustration from the cave, which I pointed out earlier as the sequence which we need to follow, the symbols, in order to ultimately reach the boss. So make sure you follow the path which I take exactly, otherwise it'll boot you back outside and make you do the entire dungeon over again. So while we're doing this though, let's go to Blaze for information on some of the items we can pick up here in the dungeons of StarTropics 2.
Here are a few of the items you'll find here in StarTropics 2. Small hearts and stars can be found from defeating enemies. The small hearts will refill a whole heart in your life bar, but it takes 5 stars to yield the same effect. The medicine is a single-use item, but it restores 5 hearts on demand. Note that like the secondary weapons, medicine doesn't last between dungeons, even within the same chapter, so there's no reason to sit on it, especially when you're at a boss of a dungeon/area.
Thank you, Blaze. And coming up on our first boss, let's go to our resident boss expert, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters.
Yum Yum is a pretty easy first boss, especially if you start fast. Run as close as you can to get to the right of the center skull, then start throwing axes as quickly as you can. Note that if you go to the left and attack and kill the wild boar, Yum Yum will attack you sooner. If you throw your axes fast enough, by the time Yum Yum finishes his lunch and finally starts attacking you, you'll only need to get a few more hits into him. His attack is firing out 3 spread out bubbles, so jump over those, get your final hits in on him, and you're moving on to Chapter 3.
And apparently you can take him down before he even gets a single hit off if you're fast enough. Thank you very much, Gary. Good piece of music right here. Just makes you feel like everything's gonna be okay. That's always been kind of the StarTropics vibe as far as I'm concerned. Really showed him. Yum Yum was trying to fatten you up. Good thing he started with the boar, I suppose. Yeah, go back to your families. And then come over here to start playing Tetris? Interesting. Okay, a block. I know. We suddenly enter a different game. But hey, if they're gonna rip off 1960s novelty songs and Mr. Lippman, why not Tetris? Come on down out here and we'll get a call from Micah again, telepathically. Mike's face every time. Oh? Traveled back. My father here at Con notes on the map. Don't find the Mr. Tetrads. Okay. Like to see the Argonians. Sure do. That's all for now. 9 times out of 10, did you understand me? Just means when you say no, they'll repeat themselves. Look at the block. I already have a Tetrad. There you go. One of, well, several. There's 9 chapters, so you can do the math. And actually, I don't think every chapter has one of those, so never mind. Forget the math. I like once Mike realizes what the block is, it suddenly gives him a couple extra hearts. Decide to use the book again and say the magic words, Papa Ooh Ma'am. It's different enough to avoid. I'm not sure they would have cared, but I don't know. Must have been something going on there. This is radical. What are you, Millhouse? Not Springfield Millhouse, but Shelbyville Millhouse. And where will we arrive this time for Chapter 3? Alright, so at the start, if you go south and follow well, this is Egypt, so let's call it the Nile, it will go on indefinitely, but as soon as you turn around, you'll be right back at the start. The first StarTropics was rife with hidden areas on the overworld maps, and we can find our first one here in StarTropics 2 by going to the right between the 2 trees and the mountain. And inside we will swap out our axe for a bronze dagger. Blaze?
The bronze dagger travels a bit farther than the stone axe and more importantly provides a 50% damage boost as well.
Terrible trait for that guy. Not only for the stats which Blaze just gave us, but, I mean, how do you go bronze to stone if you're that guy? Going back in time, this is the land of Egypt. So Mike was spot on. He's not just a jock. Paid attention in geography and or history. Gotta talk to everybody on the boat here. I actually don't have to talk to the cat, that's the exception, but out of respect to Fluff, our resident fact finder, talk to the cat. Oh, dad humor, back in 1994. She's a knockout. We'll find out for ourselves eventually, but after you've talked to everybody, that guy will move out of the way. The asps make me laugh. Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile. You tell the story, blah blah blah, tetrads. Alright, she knows of one. I do like pizza. Catering to their audience here. What kid did not like pizza? And hold the anchovies, the butt of so many jokes in the 90s, anchovies. I got a raw deal. Actually, they're kind of nasty. Not so much nasty as just the saltiest thing you'll ever put in your mouth. Just, yeah. Not my thing, but I don't begrudge anyone's pizza toppings. So that guy will get out of the way after we've got our quest from Cleopatra, our quest being getting her a pizza. Why not? For what it's worth, Cleopatra would have given us the dagger, which we currently have the bronze dagger, after we gave her the pizza, but why wait? It's useful in this dungeon here, the first one here in Chapter 3. Dealing out some better damage to guys like this. Goes down much faster. And we have our first pressure switch of the game. Here in StarTropics 2, you need to jump on it to actually activate it. Stepping on it won't get it done on its own. Careful step in here. But from the treasure chest, we got ourselves, Blaze.
The slingshot travels farther than the dagger, but its damage is on par with the stone axe.
Thank you, Blaze. So not a practical weapon if you've got the bronze dagger, but if you came in here with your stone axe still, didn't find that hidden area, then probably a good practical weapon against these bandits for hitting them at a greater distance. But the dagger suits us just fine here. A lot of these rooms require you to clear out all the enemies before the door will open. Or be revealed in that case. We got some invisible enemies here. Or barely visible, better said. Killing them all opens a door up to the north for more medicine. The hedgehogs kind of act like the asps from the first game, or a Zelda game where if you align with them, they'll charge at you. The difference is we can't hurt them while they're spinning, so something to keep in mind. You don't need to defeat the hedgehogs in this room. You can actually clear that 2-gap span right there if you're coming in from a greater height, but Spider doesn't want to play along, so. Anyway, coming up on the next boss, let's go back to Gary.
Boss beater.
Giant Scorpion is more difficult than Yum Yum because you're actually gonna have to do stuff. The key with this boss is exercising patience. This means clearing out the small scorpions when they come out. You'll get several precious seconds without them before they return if you're quick. And just as importantly, back off when the boss is about to fire projectiles at you. That leaves plenty of time to approach the boss at a full dagger's range and getting some hits in before retreating or clearing out more scorpions. Whatever you do, don't touch the scorpion itself as it causes 3 hearts worth of damage. The bullets deal 2 hearts worth, and the small scorpions deal 1.5 for what it's worth. Be patient, take him down.
Thank you very much, Gary. So this was the first of 2 major dungeons in this chapter, something which will become the norm moving forward. Not like that last shorter chapter in Chapter 2, with just the one. But upon exiting, go east and talk to the guy next to the camel. Tell the story, seeking pizza. Get ourselves I guess a free camel ride. I like it. Like the relaxed vibes everyone's got in this game. Like Tink. It's like, money? What are you talking about? We just say thank you in our culture when someone gives you something. But now we get a humorous little shot of us going through the desert. And eventually, universes collide as what appears to be Toad is delivering the pizza on the back of a Koopa Troopa. Cleo's pizza, to be precise. None of the way to the Nile. You know what? I'll take it the rest of the way from here. And we'll automatically take it back. Run, run, hurry, hurry. Run, run, hurry, hurry. Pizza's still warm. I would think so on a hot day like this. Take it right back to the barge. Get me before it cools. I mean, it's been it's been in transit for 3 days. I'm not sure how much cooler it's going to get, but somehow miraculously it's still hot. Some onions on there as well. I endorse that. I like Caesar's Hut. Little mashup of Little Caesars and Pizza Hut there. Two chains which, at the time of this class, are still very much in business. Nice to be able to say that. But now we get to see she is a knockout. Alright. So Cleo takes us to the Tetrad, which just means her barge takes us to the west. Short trip. Find the Great Pyramid. That's where the Tetrad is. So we can't get inside the pyramid just yet, so instead, we're going to head north, hugging the coast, to reach an island of monkeys. Guybrush Threepwood, anyone? For those in the know. Alright, so in here you're meant to use the stands to get a bird's eye view of where you're meant to walk, or you can just vaguely follow along the path, which we'll be carving out here. So enter to the left, and kind of hugging the walls here. We're going right rather than up. You can kind of see that from a little snapshot we got while we were up there. We're going to get a heart, that heart specifically, in just a moment. There's a pit that you cannot avoid right here, so just a quick little dungeon. I'm gonna say the ducks don't seem too bad, and then they go off and do that. That might be our first star we've gotten this entire game so far. Don't need to attack the ducks, by the way, to open the door. Just the rest. You'll see you can just walk between when you have one of those diagonal connecting pieces of land right there. Don't bother trying a jump in that instance. And don't need to worry about the hippo in this case, just the flying jellyfish. An enemy I think we've seen in a lot of games, actually. But here's the exit for us. So after coming out of that first dungeon, you can exit outside and grab that heart. Just have to go up and around. So enter here, and then hug this stand here and go to the right, and then there's just a very narrow walkway. And there we go. Got a big heart. Looking good. Alright, back in we go. But while we're working our way through here, just follow along. And let's bring in Fluff for our first Fluff fact about StarTropics 2. Fluff?
Zoda's Revenge, StarTropics 2, is an action-adventure title developed and published by Nintendo, released as a 1994 North American exclusive release, just like its predecessor, something of a rarity amongst Nintendo-developed games, which typically always receive the Japanese release as well. Running on a modified version of the same engine as the original StarTropics, the game features a number of small changes to the gameplay, which the professor has already pointed out. As the professor mentioned in the opening, StarTropics 2 was one of the later games released for the NES and has the distinction of being the second to final first-party game from Nintendo themselves, second only to Wario's Woods, which was released at the tail end of 1994. With Wario's Woods also being developed and released for the SNES, technically StarTropics 2 is the final NES exclusive title from Nintendo, but I digress. While StarTropics 2 got decent reviews from critics, its graphics were understandably criticized at being unable to compete with its peers in the video game industry of 1994. This isn't surprising considering this was a year after the first Donkey Kong Country, well into the heyday of the Sega Genesis and some of its more visually impressive titles. Heck, it was even also released shortly before Nintendo announced the release of their upcoming Nintendo 64, 2 console generations after the NES. Despite the push Nintendo gave it, which I'll talk about later, like most of the later titles on any console, it's been somewhat overlooked and unfortunately serves as the final chapter to this very short-lived but excellent original series from Nintendo. Honestly, I think it was the fact that this game was released so late in the NES's lifespan, almost as an afterthought, that it was doomed upon its release. Maybe had StarTropics 2 been designed with the hardware and capabilities of the SNES, then it would have been a bigger hit. It certainly would have gotten more attention, and that may have been the difference in having Nintendo greenlighting additional StarTropics games in the series, but unfortunately we'll never know.
We will never know, thank you, Fluff, yeah. Unfortunate as it is. But here is the exit. And as you come out, you'll have a very excited monkey hopping around. I'll be a monkey's uncle. And now we get a special ability, specifically the Psychic Shockwave. Blaze?
The Psychic Shockwave is roughly half as powerful as your current Bronze Dagger, but goes a hair farther. Its real value, aside from delivering you access to the pyramid in the short term, is its ability to damage and defeat some enemies which cannot be hurt with your other weapons.
Thank you, Blaze. So yes, we will use that here inside the pyramid. And you can jump on this tile right there to reveal a pair of hearts. So this is what we need to use to destroy that barrier. See why we had to go to the Monkey Island first. Now it just sets up as a conventional dungeon here. The second for this chapter, second and final. Mind those cobras. Mind the spikes as well. I have a nasty habit of walking right into these flames which pop up. Hit the switch right there. Come down to actually open the door. These guys just kind of creep me out, but these are some of the enemies Blaze was referring to. You see, you cannot use your physical weapon against them. Have to use your Psychic Shockwave. Mummy's sad expression just makes me laugh. Probably because we just destroyed his son with our Bronze Dagger. Your son shows the wrong side, Mr. Full-Bodied Mummy. And the Mummy's gained some weight between StarTropics titles. And every now and then, this enemy will stop and get a couple shots off like that, freeze up. We're going to intentionally fall through the floor here. Just drop down, head to the right. And we have our first instance of a moving conveyor belt here, by way of these arrows. They'll be getting a lot of use out of this over the course of the game. So get used to that when you need to walk against it, do the hop. These enemies creep me out too. I don't know, something about the blanket. What are they hiding underneath there? Let's not find out. Thankfully they move slow enough that we can navigate around them. And we've got to find the pressure tile here. There's a couple, one for hearts, and then one for the actual exit. There we go. Can't destroy those revolving balls right there, just have to avoid them. Either weapon works in that case. And we have our first of that particular item, Blaze.
If you're feeling lucky, pick up the try your luck sign to roll the dice or flip the sign and get anywhere from -1 life to +2 lives. Luck aside, any statistician will tell you that you should always pick up this sign because there's always better odds to come out ahead than coming out behind.
Yeah, the math is definitely in your favor on those, class. Do not hesitate. And these will drop you into the spikes, obviously, so be careful. A lot of these arrows tend to blend together as well, so just take your time as you're going by, doing a little target practice. Actually, I think we might be the target in this case, but we got it done. And there's another pressure switch in the middle, which will reveal a couple hearts for us. Right there. Little hodgepodge of the mummy's kids. And whatever these things are, I'm not sure I'd trust them to babysit. Just creep me out. So we need a certain item in order to progress to the next area, but we don't have it yet, so instead, step on the tail right there to reveal the door to the right. Take out the mummies. I think the first StarTropics had at least a couple instances where the map kind of circled around and you had to find the secret. I think it was in the volcano, actually. You had to find that special cut-through area in order to ascend to the top, I think by way of the water spout, or ultimately reach the water spout. Yeah, the damage can stack very quickly in this game. That is one thing to be aware of. But now we got ourselves, well, Blaze, how about you tell us?
The flute has a very specific use here in Chapter 3 of getting snakes to appear and opening a door, as the professor will point out.
Yeah, back to that screen with the snake cut into the ground by way of tiles. Kind of annoying that the enemies respawn. But that's part of the challenge. Alright, so now we're going to go into our inventory, pausing, pushing up, and then using that particular flute. And that reveals the cobras here. And then destroying them will reveal the actual intended exit to the boss here. And mine these sinking platforms. They don't start to begin to sink until you step on them the first time, so just be quick. Not the first time we've had these, actually, but that is how you need to treat them. Do not dally. Tell you what, though, we're good on medicine, that's for sure. Won't even need Gary for this next boss, but I'm just joking. Gary?
Boss beater.
The disembodied Pharaohhead isn't too bad. I like the daggers to put him down in around 20 hits versus the admittedly faster moving psychic shockwaves, which will end up taking longer. But the strategy is to stay as close as possible, just off to the side, and toss daggers at his head. His two attacks are a spray of bullets, which you can jump or avoid, and the much more dangerous lasers he'll fire when his head flips. Do not be in front of him when he pulls this move out, as this does 4 hearts worth of damage to you, hence the recommendation of always staying to his side. Midway through, he'll turn red and speed up, but the strategy remains the same. Put him down, and it's on to Chapter 4.
Thank you, Gary. Another chapter, another tetrad right here. And should be another heart to go with it. Here we go. If we got 2 last time, what gives? Oh well. Where to next, class? Let's open the book and find out. Papa ooh mau mau, Papa ooh mau mau. This is radical. Every time. We've been to Egypt, ancient Egypt. We've been to the Stone Age. My money is on... Actually, I know, we're headed to late 19th century London. And who might we know? Well, we wouldn't know anyone from late 19th century London, but who might we recognize from our history books? Or maybe not history so much, but literature perhaps? So follow the path this way. Only one way you can go at the moment. Through this door. Talk to this gentleman. This gentleman being Mr. Sherlock Holmes, the great detective. A robbery will occur tonight. Zoda-X. Alright. Gonna try to catch Zoda-X red-handed at the museum before he steals a priceless jewel. Hello, dog. Checks out. I just think it's charming, the idea that they designed that room just so you could go inside and annoy someone. He has no further impact on the plot, the game, anything like that. We're just waking the man up. Yep, alright. Heard that. Second time we've heard that tonight. Talked to the policeman down here, and apparently there's a curfew no one told me about. I love this. What are you in for, pal? Didn't even try to get out. This place is escape-proof, and then instantly just go second from the top on the right side. Instantly escape the cell. He's got to be like, well, I guess I was wrong. What else can you say in that instance? But cut through the alleyway here. Got a sleepwalking denizen of London right there. But cut up, and this will take us to the museum. Good thing we got arrested, actually, as I think the only way to get to the museum is through the jail cell passage, but reunited with Sherlock Holmes. And just before we could grab the tetrad, Zoda-X strikes first. Witness the power. It's just the force. He moved it like 4 feet. Alright, so now, before you head south, make sure you pop in the sewer right here to grab yourself probably one of the less hygienic big hearts, but big heart's a big heart. And there we go. Halfway to the max health total in this game. Now we can head south and head into this sewer for our next dungeon. And despite the fact that I've gone on record time and time again at voicing my displeasure with sewer levels in general, this one doesn't feel too bad. Doesn't feel like a true sewer level. StarTropics sewer. But still, the farthest thing from my mind when you think StarTropics, right? You're thinking exotic locales, island hopping. No, popping around some sewers with some jellyfish creatures. Got some rats dancing around. And I swear, the same people that designed the rats in, I want to say Super Mario RPG, actually, because I remember that little spin dance. I don't know, that seems very familiar from other Nintendo-made games, but maybe someone can chime in, think of what I'm thinking of. Maybe it's a bit too obscure or abstract what I'm trying to think of. Anyway, you can exit south, but if you want some medicine, hit that tile and go north here. Gotta kill a couple evolved sewer rats. My god. Guess they don't have a lot of exterminators in late 19th century London. The rats have been able to grow unchecked and learn how to walk on 2 feet, apparently. And then respawn immediately. But now we can head south with that medicine in hand. It's a pretty straight shot here for a while, so let's bring back in Fluff for another Fluff fact about StarTropics 2. Fluff?
StarTropics 2 was developed by the same branch of Nintendo which developed the first StarTropics. This is noteworthy because, as I mentioned in our class on the original game, the Nintendo Research and Development No. 3 department, which developed both StarTropics titles, primarily focused on the hardware side of Nintendo's development. This included the initial design of the game pack, or cartridges of the Famicom and NES themselves, and the design of subsequent Nintendo consoles like the N64, GameCube, Wii, and many of the peripherals and hardware associated with each. Their credit list for actual video games is pretty short, but includes Pro Wrestling, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, Super Punch-Out!, both StarTropics, and their final title in 1996's Nintendo 64 launch title, Pilot Wings 64. After this, they transitioned entirely to hardware development for the next couple of decades before becoming defunct in 2015 after merging with Nintendo System Development.
Thank you, Fluff. And with the flying enemies, obviously got to jump before you get your attacks in, but next boss, Gary.
Boss beaters.
The manual doesn't give us a name for this one, so I'll just call it the Meteor because it kinda reminds me of the Maniac Mansion Meteor, or maybe something out of Blaster Master. Regardless, this isn't a difficult battle, so long as you don't get greedy. As you jump on each platform, the next one will appear and start the clock ticking on your current platform. Get 2, yes I said 2 hits in max, per platform before jumping to the next one. This is especially important for the bottom one. You may just want to jump off as soon as you get onto that one to restart the cycle from the top, as that one feels a bit shorter. Keep tossing pairs of taggers as you maneuver around. Don't get greedy, take them down.
Thank you, Gary, and you still need to work your way around to hit that tile for the actual exit. You might be thinking, what the heck? Killed the boss, why am I stuck here? But that's how we get out. Probably should have used my magic potion before I left, but they're very generous at the start of this next dungeon for health, so it's alright. It's a good reminder. But follow Zoda-X's footprints into the next dungeon. And as mentioned, here's one of those hearts, and then go to the right. And around the diamond we go to get fully topped off, so didn't end up costing us. And got ourselves a new secondary weapon, Blaze.
The spike disc is about 66% more powerful than our current dagger, and it travels farther. Unfortunately, it's obviously a finite use weapon, but a good one to save for bosses, especially at this stage of the game.
Thank you, Blaze. More of those rats right there. The expression of these owls. I don't think they're against us necessarily, and who thought to put owls in a sewer on top of that? But head south here to grab yourself first medicine of this second dungeon. The exit is right here to carry on, and be careful, the moving conveyor belt will definitely deposit you right into the water, which will count as a death right there. The platforming is much more difficult in this game, courtesy of the there's no brakes in this one essentially. There's no guardrails. Whatever these things are meant to be. Fluff mentioned the same development team that worked on Pilot Wings 64. I gotta say, I loved that game when I had my Nintendo 64. When that came out, talked about this before, just, those who grew up with that system know that when it first came out, there were like maybe 3 launch titles. I think it was Mario 64, Pilot Wings 64, and maybe Cruisin' USA, all of which I picked up again. Don't know where I got my money from when I was that age, but and nonetheless, I was buying all the early releases for the N64, but played a lot of that game in Pilot Wings 64, but dropped down this pit here. There's two on either side as well, but those will just lead you to having to come back and around. This is the way forward, that center one. And the way forward here is down to the south. Yeah, I probably forgave a lot of the warts on some of those early games. Probably enjoyed them more than the critical reception reflected. Kind of like some of the, early Nintendo games, not necessarily the ones that came out. I'm talking for the NES, but just the ones which you actually had in your collection. You only had so many games, and even if they weren't considered to be classics by today's standards, you still played the heck out of them. And jump up here to hit the switch to open up this chest. You can see we get much bigger complement of those spike discs with that one there. 50 versus the 25. I'm sure we all have a lot of games that we can admit, they weren't that good, but I played them a lot and had a soft spot for them at the time. Had right to grab yourself another medicine, guarded by a couple just low-effort owls. Kind of aimlessly flying about the screen. And there's a switch to exit here. And finally time. The throwdown with Zoda-X. Gary?
Boss beaters.
Zoda-X is only dangerous if you get close to him, and thankfully your spike discs are extremely useful for keeping your distance and doing good damage. If you don't have any discs, this becomes a riskier battle, as you'll need to get closer and risk the floor forcing you into him to the tune of 3 hearts per hit you take. The flames aren't quite as bad at 2 hearts per hit, but it's best to jump diagonally out of the small circle they create around you. This boss can't put flames too close to the wall, so that can be useful for buying you a little extra space for what it's worth. He also has a projectile attack now and again, which you can dodge or just jump over. But again, the best strategy is to keep your distance and hit him with those spike discs to take him down and move on to Chapter 5.
Thank you, Gary. He had more of a frustrating battle than anything. Just waiting for an opening. Willing to sacrifice a little health here. And you got all these medicines in the cabinet. Pop a couple right now. Can't take them with us. Not gonna do it. There we go. And then note the transformation right there. Not the actual Zoda, as you'd imagine. I think the footprints kind of gave it away. Though, then again, that is what Zoda looked like at the end of the last game, so. There's our tetrad for this chapter. As we get into our second row of hearts on the bottom. There we go. And now we can have one last word with Sherlock Holmes. Very clever sleuth. Blah blah, tetrads, blah. Must be a Zoda-Y and a Zoda-Z. Alright, something to look out for. Alright, where to now? 4 chapters down. It's always radical. Looks like it's written entirely in Braille, actually, but here we go into the past one more time. Not too far in the past, as we'll find ourselves in the Wild West when we come to. Would have been the late 1800s. Decide to look around. What else are we gonna do? So head north here. That is the only way we can go, actually, but head into this little town here. And we need to talk to people in a certain order here. Ginger ale on me, there you go. Nicely cleaned up for Nintendo's censors, although this being exclusively a North American release, they never had an adult version of that line, I'm sure. Never anything harder. That guy was going to be drinking. So pop in here to the blacksmith's place. Good luck, Mike. Alright, so having talked to him, we're going to head now to the saloon, which is just to the left when you come in. Up and to the left. Got a couple guys who are brawling down here. Get out of here, kid, we're brawling. Come up and talk to the piano player. And he's going to give us a clue as to where we're going to need to use dynamite in order to find ourselves the entrance to the next dungeon, which will ultimately lead us to the Tetrad. There you go. Did you get it from that? We got you, don't worry. Not sure where the percussion's coming from. Yeah, boy. Didn't expect that. Oof, red-eye ginger ale. Dynamite. That sounds a little harder. Howdy, partner. And they got sarsaparilla here. There you go. Delicious. Howdy, partner. Alright, one last stop to make in town, so head to the east here. And south to the general store. This is where we can get ourselves the TNT. That should get you started again. Everything's free. Got a load of dynamite. So before we blow a hole in the wall where the entrance to the next dungeon ultimately is, there's a heart we can find. If we put the dynamite in just the right spot against the western wall. So there's actually a couple boulders which are framing the spot which we need to bomb in order to get ourselves the heart here in Chapter 5. So just walk against the wall and you'll automatically place the dynamite. And head inside and there we go. Got a big heart. We have 12 now. So now we're headed back to Bob's to get ourselves another stick of dynamite. And then next we'll bomb the entrance to the route to the next dungeon. In addition to getting the heart and the route to the next dungeon, blowing holes in those two spots, you can blow up additional spots in that western wall to find a few gold nuggets. These are taken back to town in exchange for points, here with Bob actually, which have no bearing on anything, so I won't be showing them, but there's a few of them if you know where to dynamite. But again, for our purposes, a complete waste of time. So instead we're gonna put the lyrics to that timeless song to work here. And actually no, we're just gonna turn left at this particular cactus and then head straight to the west. Alternatively, you can come down 3 paces from those kind of gold colored stones right there on the ground, but either way, hit the west wall right there with your dynamite. And this will lead us to the entrance to the first dungeon here in Chapter 5. Piece of music felt kind of Earthbound Beginnings there. Game which we did a class on not too long ago. You can check out here on Video Games 101. Talking about how this is an exclusive Western title. Earthbound Beginnings was an exclusive Japanese title. Both solid games, and you can see right here, just attack the wall in that weak spot right there. And now we gotta alternate between these 3 rows to avoid the boulders. Much easier than the first game when you couldn't go diagonally. Now you can kind of use that as a shortcut, but get some hearts there if you want them, but we need to jump in the middle and then get sucked down into a a pit, drop us out here. These cactus guys take 3 hits from our current weapon and then get out of the way as they're going to explode and send their spiky cactus bits in all 4 directions. No cause to actually attack any of the enemies here. Aside from avoiding damage, it's going to avoid the damage. Not worth the hearts there. And we have some special enemies here in these chests. Blaze, how about them?
If you hit the chest enemies with your dagger, they'll turn into fast-moving coins which sprint around the room. The best strategy is to get in a corner in the room and aim diagonally towards the center of the room and keep attacking to take them down. A much safer way to deal with the chests is to use your Psychic Shockwave attack, which will keep them in their slower moving chest form. It could take a little longer this way, but it's definitely safer.
Thank you, Blaze, and we got ourselves our first of whatever the secondary weapon is for the Wild West. How about it?
While the bolas boast a better range than the spiked discs did, they don't do as much damage as even our daggers. Still, when you want to keep a safe distance, it's not a bad option.
Maybe for this boss, Gary?
Boss beaters.
This is a relatively easy one. The Bandit Miner will slowly advance toward you, routinely rolling a boulder at you each time. You can give yourself more time to react and jump over them by staying farther away, throwing bolas at them, or alternatively you can get close and toss daggers for more damage. Either way, not a difficult battle.
Thank you, Gary. Good call, and we're about to head out, so make use of your medicine. If you've still got it, don't let it go to waste. And exit north here. And waiting for us outside, or inside. And there's our score down there again. Referenced that earlier. We could have added to that with some gold nuggets, but that's a donkey. And the donkey gives us the Super Psychic Shockwave. Blaze?
The Super Psychic Shockwave is an upgraded version of our existing Psychic Shockwave, so it travels farther and deals 50% more damage. It still isn't quite as powerful as our dagger, but again, certain enemies can only be defeated using this weapon, and the extra range can be useful at times. Note that, like your yo-yo and its advanced states in the first game, the Super Psychic Shockwave requires a minimum amount of hearts, or specifically 6 hearts, before it will revert to its standard Psychic Shockwave.
Thank you, Blaze. So hop off very quickly as you enter this area, as that conveyor belt will quickly send you up top, and then likewise on the left side this time. Defeat these enemies to open up the wall to the right so we can get some medicine in a second. If you kept going up, then you drop into a pit with some snakes and have to climb back up, so you can avoid that by going this way, the intended route, and those cactus guys. Dealing some big damage there. So now cut through here since we opened this up to get yourself a couple hearts, but more importantly, some medicine. Now we can head back out and follow the route down to the south. Down and around. Got more of these guys. Let's try Blaze's alternate method, using our Super Psychic Shockwave. The range on this is much nicer than, well, certainly our primary weapons we've had so far. And you might spot a little crack in the wall up top there, so blast through it there. Something extra satisfying about using the Psychic Shockwave in any form to open up that passage there. I don't know why. Anyway, got some arrows pushing against us here. Same concept as before, though. But pop open this chest to find ourselves a big star. Blaze?
Alright, the Big Star is an on-demand use item which, upon being redeemed, grants you roughly 10 seconds of invincibility.
Good call. Thank you, Blaze. I recommend sitting on these for a bit. Don't use them just yet. As, apparently these are the most difficult enemies in the game for me. These slow-moving cactus guys. This is where the range is nice. head up here for a bit of a mini-boss. Gary?
Boss beaters.
The best strategy for this kind of sort of mini-boss here is to just post up in the bottom left or right of the screen against the wall, then face diagonally up and keep attacking. This will help you hit the minecart when it goes by on the bottom, as well as taking out the golden child enemies. Just like with the coins, if you attack them with your normal weapon.
Thank you very much, Gary. So he goes through his colors there. And usually, yeah, I was going to say with a boss or a mini-boss like that that's difficult to land hits on, they're usually pretty generous about the number of hits which you actually need to land. So not too bad. Some ghost miners in here. Reminds me of our class we did on New Ghostbusters 2. We were doing the underground kind of subway stretch of that game. And while you can go straight up to progress the game, there is some very valuable loot, which we can get from taking out these snakes, these cobra-looking guys. Passage will open to the east. And you can see the crack in the north wall. But open this chest first. Get yourself your second big star. A lot of items in this game which are very rare, very specific to certain areas. And you can check that chest again. There's nothing in it this time. Just to confirm. Yeah, so many secondary weapons which are only made for one particular chapter. And mind the giant spiked logs popping out of the wall here. It can be a little difficult to gauge exactly where you are relative to these things to not get hit, but here we go. Not too bad. Alright, boss time, Gary.
Boss beaters.
The Mashing Miner deals 4 damage should he touch you, and his boulders even do 2.5. So in the absence of invincibility stars, keep your distance and use your psychic Shockwave, ideally the super version, which travels farther and deals more damage. He and his boulders move slowly enough that you can stay away while being close enough to hit him with that attack, jumping to get your shots over the boulders should they get between you. You should have a couple invincibility stars at this point though, so light him up and light the boss up with your daggers up close to take him down.
Thank you, Gary. That's why I recommended that you hold on to those class. Makes that boss incredibly easy. A little cheap, but we'll take it. And another chapter. One more tetrad to the collection. Ooh, it's the straight piece. Everyone's favorite. Well, I shouldn't speak for you, class. It's my favorite. As a Tetris requires one. To clear out those 4 lines. And we get 2 hearts for that. I told you it's the best one. It's like they decided, well, we want 20 hearts as the max, but we're not going to program in near enough hearts. So we'll just kind of fudge the numbers. Alright, we've been to Egypt, we've been to the Stone Age, we've been to late 19th century Wild West and London. Where to now? Well, no trip back in time is complete without a stop-off in the Renaissance. A lot of famous figures which we could interact with back then. See if we're right. As if I haven't played this before in preparation for this class, but yes, we are in probably 15th century Italy right here. Ciao. I have a no tetrad. Everybody talks like Mario here in 15th century Italy. Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Leonardo. Gotta get a TMNT reference in, amongst the other pop culture references. Caesar's Hut Pizza. Apparently they had chains even back then. See if he's got anything for us when it comes to inventions. Have a big plate of pasta. You just carry that around in the alley? Not sure if I would eat alley pasta. I'm not above it. Pop in here, though, to find... Well, apparently Zoda's been here. Yep. Yeah, those are his very distinct footprints. And head inside for a very short dungeon, more of a puzzle-themed one. There's no enemies in here. In the conventional sense, nothing to kill, but Fluff, I'm told you have a timely Fluff fact.
There's a sprite glitch in one room here early on in Chapter 6. Instead of showing your dagger when attacking in this room, it shows the katana which we're about to get from Da Vinci himself, but we don't quite have it yet.
Interesting. And this can be a little dangerous here. Don't try to move forward or backward, just time your jump well and he'll jump with the platform, thankfully. Wait for this platform on this side. Alright. And you can fall right off the side of that platform. I probably mentioned that earlier when we had our first moving platform, but so just stay as close to the middle as you can and make sure you jump off before you get too close to that edge. Grab the medicine if you like, but again, this is a very short dungeon, so probably won't get to make use of it. Of course, I say that, just gave myself the walkthrough jinx. So the idea here is to change the course of each of these spheres to get them to drop into this pit here. Circular pit. And I find if you stand just below, and if you time it just right, you can knock it in just like that. Oops, alright. Accidentally pulled it. Okay. I can get this going again. Alright. This one in particular is causing me some problems. Alright. Starting to wonder about that medicine now. Alright, there we go. Back on track. A little jumpy. Alright, can I get this one? I'm trying to think of the best way to... A little premature. Alright, can we get like a jump and a... Alright, well... This would be an embarrassing time to lose our first life. I can only apologize for the sound, class. Alright. Alright. Thankfully the exit is right here. That's really not that difficult. I made it much more difficult than it actually is. But head over here and grab yourself the chisel and the hammer. Mallet. There you are. Come around and grab the hammer, and it will automatically take us back to Da Vinci. Now we can chip away at that outer layer to free Da Vinci. Although, strictly speaking, I think he would be dead. Deprived of oxygen for that long, but this is a feel-good video game here in Zoda's Revenge. There you go. You alright, sir? It's the famous artist Leonardo da Vinci. Just finishing the Mona Lisa when monster blasted him. Soda. Zoda-Y. I'm no art critic, but looks a little old. How about this? Just not even looking, brushing on the mouth, and then all of a sudden she looks like a valley girl. Punk rock valley girl. And like that, Mike ruined culture. Let's just say culture, but upgrade at weapon, it's worth it if we get the katana. Blaze?
The katana is a marginal upgrade in range over the dagger and a nicer jump in damage.
Thank you, Blaze. It's also notably our final weapon of that variety in the game. We still got 3 chapters to go here. But on Da Vinci's flying machine, getting a call from Micah. Blah blah. Flying machine. Famous artist. Don't know what these evil beings are capable of. Always disconnected. Sputter, sputter, cough, cough, sputter, sputter, cough, cough. Feels very reminiscent of our camel ride. So you'll touch down on this island. Be very careful not to jump right back on the flying device because you need to come through the side of the wall here to grab yourself the 15th big heart overall. Well, 15th heart in our collection. Only found a few of the big hearts, but you know what I'm trying to say. Don't miss this. Before you pop back on the flying machine. One of those, if you miss it, then you miss it. Just like the sewer back in Sherlock Holmes' time. Back on. Sputter, sputter, cough, cough. Kind of reminded of Illusion of Gaia a little bit when you're taking Neil's plane. Of course, that landed a little bit rougher. So similar to the very beginning of the game when we were carefully navigating that snow field, because there were a lot of pits, this is the exact same thing. So follow this route precisely as there are a lot of pits. And I'm going to try to avoid all of the non-essential ones. There are, I think, 2 that you cannot avoid, but up and around there. Hugging the bottom wall and then the left wall here. And then at this intersection, go left. And then just before the stairs, there is an unavoidable pit. So we'll drop down here and get to use our brand new katana. Where you drop in exactly is, I think, a random room each time. So how you get out will vary. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 different configurations. But anyway, once you get out, head south and go south a couple times. And then 2 ahead of that staircase, head up, and then straight to the left. And then you'll drop down here at this intersection. And this one's always the same, so take out this guy and then go north here. Follow the path around, just ignore the skulls as much as you can. Unless they're blocking the exit. And that's pretty much as fast as you can get through, and we still have a couple pits to avoid here. As you come out here, hug the north wall until you get to that face right there, then go all the way down, and then to the right. And yeah, as quickly as you can get through that particular stretch, there are a lot of pits there, so very frustrating. If you're not sure where you're headed, but only 4 hearts left. And no boss this time. Just a very angry Zoda-Y, excuse me. Ooh. Alright. I'm not sure this is radical. Not everything's radical, Mike. Not sure getting sent to Transylvania is the fun weekend you think it is. That's where we're being sent right now. Where's Simon Belmont when you need him, right? It's alright, we got this. So drop in, and you decide to look around. Why not? So follow the linear path to Dracula's castle there. There's no hidden hearts or cut-throughs or anything here. No hidden passages, just straight to the Count's castle. So head to the right first. Guess the bats don't fly as high as the owls do, apparently. Here's your wildlife lesson for the day. But this way we can grab ourselves a medicine. Drop down to that platform and go to the left. And then once you hit these Frankenstein's monsters, guys, they will separate. And it's kind of the same strategy as those fast-moving coins. Anytime anything's moving fast around the screen at you, you're best off just getting down to the corner and attacking towards the center. But come to the northwest of the 4 screens here and have a bit of a Legend of Zelda enemy here in the ghosts. We're going after that primary ghost. Thankfully the health doesn't reset each time, but take him out to come up here and grab yourself. Yep, told you. Always forget about those flames, so just, yeah, take a breath there. Approach the medicine, but don't get so close. Wait for the flames to die down. And then same idea in the northeast corner here. Taking out the ghost. And more of these creepers. And gotta hit the ghost in the tombstone. You can hit him from the side as well, actually, so that's probably easier than trying to get him to turn his back to you. Although it is pretty random. And I think that sound effect when he attacks is straight out of Blaster Master, actually, when those things would launch their bombs at you. Alright, so careful to jump to get to this side, so you can grab yourself something new there. But when you drop down here, push up and to the right to get out of the way, otherwise you'll drop down another floor. We want to exit there though, so that's how we do that. But Blades, what did we just pick up?
The 3-way shot is the final and most powerful secondary weapon, or weapon in general, in the game. Even marginally more so than our newly acquired katana. It comes out a little slow and you can only use one at a time, but it travels farther than any existing weapon we've had yet. Not too shabby.
Not in the least. Thank you very much, Blaze. Follow these platforms around. And this guy likes to drop exploding bombs. Is that redundant? Exploding bombs, but you can see they go in all directions when they detonate, but not too dangerous. He looks familiar. I feel like we've seen other enemies that look like this guy in different games, but again, can't quite put my finger on it. Got a chance at some more loot ahead of the boss though, so just follow along as we bring back in Fluff for another Fluff fact about Zoda's Revenge, StarTropics 2. Fluff?
Despite this being one of the final games released for the NES, StarTropics 2 isn't worth nearly as much today as some of its late release peers on the console, typically not fetching much more, if anything more, than it was worth upon its initial release date back in 1994. This is compared to a title like the NES's penultimate released game, and Taito's The Flintstones The Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, which can fetch you several $1,000s today, depending on its condition. The reasoning for this is because Nintendo pushed StarTropics 2 hard upon its release as a kind of launch title for their new style NES 101, which was released late in 1993. Priced at a much more affordable $49.95 upon its October 1993 release date, when their focus was almost entirely on the SNES, as well as the future, the top-loading NES was Nintendo's way of squeezing a little extra revenue out of their previous generation console and the NES's vast library of games. I talked a bit about this in our class on Mega Man 6, but Nintendo heavily marketed a couple games in particular in Mega Man 6 and StarTropics 2 in hopes that the reputations of two established names in the NES's library would help bolster sales of the new style, reduced-price NES. As such, Nintendo made a lot more copies of StarTropics 2 than other developers made of their late release titles, thus driving down the price of this game today. Anyone got a copy of this one in their garage, by the way?
Yeah, thanks, Fluff. I think I got my copy years later at, a secondhand video game store, used video game store, and didn't pay that much for it, so. Yeah, it's not especially rare, to Fluff's point, compared to some other games. Anyone have that Flintstones game, by the way? I probably asked that before. What's the, what's the star of your wine collection, that is your video game collection, better said? You know what I'm trying to say. What's your standout, your most valuable game that you have in your collection? And cannot defeat those enemies, just knock them down. And got another one of these guys in this room, but with pits this time. Be careful, because your instinct is to jump to avoid the projectiles coming at you, but Oftentimes, in trying to do that, you'll fall into one of the pits, so it's almost like it's exactly by design. It's how they drew it up. So don't fall into that trap, class. Even if it means taking a little damage now and again. This looks like something out of a Legend of Zelda game. Link to the Past. Expect these tiles to start popping up and coming after us. I will spare you from the chime noise. I'll spare the both of us, actually. I want to hold on to as many of these three-way attack shots, though, as possible. They will be useful up ahead at the next boss. Got plenty of medicine, though, for him. Alright. Speaking of which, Gary, what do we got?
Boss beaters.
The Zoda-Y battle begins very predictably, with him warping in and out, releasing a couple of bats, and firing 3 space shots at you. You can avoid the shots by standing just to the side of him, such that they'll go around you, though occasionally you may need to move a bit farther back or jump. Use your 3-way shot to do the most damage and ensure you don't even need to aim to hit him. Go ahead and use them on the bats as well if you like, as you should have a nice complement of them coming into this battle. Though if you're running a bit low, switch back to the Katana or Psycho Shockwave to clear them out. Just keep repositioning as necessary to get in the sweet spot and get a couple few hits in each time Zoda warps in. This is so straightforward and easy, you'll likely be wondering, is this it? Well, once you put enough shots into him, you'll reach phase 2, where he'll turn into a kind of demon owl and things get more difficult. He'll jump around faster left and right, making landing hits more difficult, which is why the 3-way shot is still very useful. Every so often he'll flap his wings and send you toward the spikes, so make sure you stay up front and walk against it to avoid those. Jump over the feathers. He'll also fire at you during this move. There's a max of 2 bats on the screen at once, and they fly around at random. I say this to point out that sometimes, when they're behind you, they won't even be a concern, so you can just focus on the boss. Keep it up with your 3-way shots to eventually take him down and move on to Chapter 8.
Looking forward to it, thank you, Gary. Got a bit more work to do, though, here in Demon Owl phase. Inside of his wings kind of look like a fingerprint. Now that I look at it. Got plenty of these 3-ways, though. You shouldn't take too many more shots here. There we go. Different form hiding underneath that? No, not that time. Alright. Exit to the east. To get ourself our... Which piece is this? Oh, there's just the standard block. Just trying to think of what we're missing at this point. I guess the other L-shaped piece. The one that's actually an L from our perspective. So to Chapter 8 we go, to hopefully find that. Let's open that book one more time. It just kind of reminds me, referenced this in the whiteboard earlier, but the telephone book, which they used in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And again, how is this such a drastically superior time travel game versus that? Well, this one's made by Nintendo, I suppose. That's the obvious answer. But here in Chapter 8... where is there left to go? I think I mentioned King Arthur in the intro, so... this is the final time period we will appear in. So head to the west here through this linear path. Odds Bodkins, a stranger. Go see the king. There's a phrase which hasn't stuck around. Hasn't stood the test of time. Odds Bodkins. Let's bring that one back. Guess that's to denote surprise of some degree, maybe great degree. Very strong and important man. We had guys brawling back in the Wild West. These guys are just training. I like this guy. Sir Spineless the Cowardly. I'm glad you showed up. I certainly wasn't going to fight the dragon. No, I'll do it. I'm a high school pitcher. Who better than me to do it? By the way, can we talk about the stupid interior design of this castle? Having to walk around this corridor to get to the throne room here. Coffee break, a donut, a sandwich. Wouldn't be StarTropics without some anachronisms, or StarTropics 2 at least, where you're going back in time. King Arthur. So Merlin. Be on the lookout for Merlin. Heck yeah, we'll take down the terrible beast. And at being knighted, he will give us an extra heart. Very nice. You mind doing that a couple more times, by the way? King Arthur for full hearts. Anyway, exit out. And now we'll be able to go to the right. This guy will get out of the way. And into the dungeon we go. Just a couple more of these. And Fluff, you got another one for us while we're getting started here in this dungeon?
Mike's primary objective here in StarTropics 2 is to collect the puzzle pieces the game refers to as Tetrads, and even mentions Tetris at one point. Nintendo held the rights to the ultra-famous puzzle game at the time of this game's release. But starting with the game's re-release on the Wii Virtual Console in 2008, this was changed to blocks and puzzles respectively to avoid legal issues, though the sprites of the blocks remain the same.
Interesting, yeah, I was gonna say. Again, check out our class on Tetris. By the way, you can go up that corridor right there to get yourself some medicine on the left, but yeah, I can't be bothered. I don't think we'll need it. It's obvious enough on how to get there. So this is a weird one, so let's grab this medicine first. And when we defeat the enemy up here, it will immediately drop us into the ground. So where you defeat him is important. We want to be around this center area right there. You don't want to be so far up the top so that you fall on the spikes, but you don't want to be so far down that you drop off of the platform right there and then have to work your way back up and do it all over again. So that's about how you want to handle that. And I want to be quite quick here because a row of spikes is beginning to emerge out of the ground here. And here we want to go up to avoid the knives, down, and then quickly go down and jump over there. This time you want to go down, and then up, and then once again. And this time we're going down and then straight. Throwing a curveball at you, to use a term Mike would be familiar with. There you go, clean run and boss time, Gary.
Boss beater.
The Knight Rider is one of the more frustrating bosses in the game. Not because he's difficult, but because of how challenging it is to actually land shots by virtue of the ye olde conveyor belts. I find it works well to stay around the 7th tile from the end in the bottom left and top right side. That's roughly around the door in the bottom left. Then start moving and just attacking in his direction repeatedly while you move with him. If spaced just right, you can get about 3 hits in per sequence. It only takes about 10 hits to defeat with your katana, so it shouldn't take too long. You can jump over his beam attacks, but they generally won't be an issue if you stick to these locations, as it'll put you just ahead of him so that your attacks can land. Try to keep your control in your hand and out of your mouth for this one, class.
It does get frustrating, thank you, Gary, but excellent strategy for taking him down in record time. It can go on for a while if you're just trying to bounce around getting hits in when you can. And as we cut through this corridor here, we will meet. It's an owl. Kill it. We've been conditioned to kill owls in this game, but look at that. Ah, you're shapeshift. Oh, you're Merlin. So were you also the owls when they were attacking us in the dungeons? Anyway, get a friend from a faraway planet. Yeah, Merlin gets around. Merlin is sort of the glue of everything here. But most importantly, he will now give us the last and most powerful magic, the Ultra Psychic Shockwave. Blaze?
The Ultra Psychic Shockwave is the final version of this alternate weapon, and it gets my award for Weapon of the Game here in StarTropics 2. In terms of damage, it's just slightly behind our Katana, but it's roughly 25% stronger than the previous version, and most importantly, it goes across the entire screen, it comes out fast, and you can repeatedly fire them in quick succession. So it's an excellent alternative to the Katana from here on out for quickly defeating enemies from a safe distance. It does require at least 10 hearts in order to use it, so another incentive to keep your health up besides, not wanting to die.
Deserved praise for the Ultra Psychic Shockwave. Thank you very much, Blaze. I will probably not be unequipping it for the remainder of the game. Might as well just toss the Katana in the lake right here, a reference which I think King Arthur would appreciate. Kind of butchered it a little bit, so bit of a squint your eyes reference, but that's fine. Close enough. Rock guys are just a slightly more dangerous version of the cactus guys, although maybe I shouldn't be saying that considering I think the cactus guys gave me the most trouble of any enemies in this game, or probably bosses included. You can see how nice this weapon is now, just killing everything from a nice, safe distance. And we got a mini-boss here, Gary.
Boss beaters.
Not much of a strategy for this kind of mini-boss in Zodasaur. Just jump over the large white energy balls he fires at you and keep attacking from a distance with your newly acquired Ultra Psychic Shockwave. Just be quick and ready to jump as they come out fast.
Thank you, Gary. Good against these night enemies as well. It's good against everything. It's like an all-purpose cleaner. Anyway, while we continue through this dungeon here, let's bring in Fluff for one final Fluff fact about StarTropics 2.
I mentioned that both StarTropics titles were developed by the R&D department of Nintendo. The director on both titles was the head of that department at Nintendo, Ingenio Takeda, who joined Nintendo way back in the early 1970s after graduating with a focus in semiconductor research. Years later, after subsequently being assigned as the general manager of R&D 3, Takeda oversaw a team which developed the battery backup memory feature, which was first implemented in the North American versions of The Legend of Zelda. Making use of a long-life battery for the game's RAM chip to store recorded memory even when the cartridge is without power from the console, this notably allowed players to record their progress when their parents were yelling at them to take out the trash or that they'd be late for school. Takeda is also credited with the implementation of the analog stick into modern console controllers with the design of the Nintendo 64's controller. Previous to this, analog sticks existed nearly exclusively as dedicated novelty peripherals, like in the case of the NES Advantage or PC controllers for flight simulators. This design was quickly copied and integrated into the default design for the controllers for consoles of Nintendo's peers and competitors in Sony and Microsoft. Takeda also notably played a large role in the development and unconventional design of the Nintendo Wii, being outspoken of his belief that Nintendo should go against the industry trends of technologically and graphically topping your competitors. In likening the video game industry to the automotive industry, Takeda believed instead in making something for a specific audience and scaling back the power required to operate their console without sacrificing performance. Takeda continued to be an innovative force at Nintendo until retiring after 45 years with the company in 2017. Earlier I mused on why StarTropics never got any additional games in its series. Well, Zoda's Revenge was the final title of the relative few in which Takeda served in that role of director. So it could just be that directing games didn't interest him anymore, and with the series being his baby between him writing and directing on each of them, it's no wonder we never got a third game.
Yeah, when you put it like that, I don't know, it kind of makes sense. It kind of takes the sting off a little bit. Makes me feel like maybe it was more of his choice. Maybe Nintendo wasn't clamoring for another StarTropics title, but yeah, without his motivation or interest in doing that, again, hasn't made any games since. Well, certainly this being the final game which he directed, as Fluff mentioned, but yeah, that division as well. Since the mid-90s. It helps put things in perspective a little bit. Got these exploding bits that guy was dropping earlier, just coming in from their own now. So before we head north, hop in here to grab yourself, every time, a medicine. Just mind the flames. Do as I say, not as I do in that one particular instance, class. I can only apologize. Not sure why the changes in music, just to, I guess, give it kind of a cinematic vibe, varying the tension from area to area, and much easier this time because we're not trapped in a one-way lane with them. So you can just hit him diagonally with your Ultra Psychic Shockwave. Looking good on medicine for this next boss. Get yourself a few more hearts there if you need them. Now at the 4s. Again, diagonal is the way to handle these guys. Keep your distance. And the actual way to exit is a pressure switch in the bottom left. But defeating those Zodasaurs gives you a little extra loot to the right. So let's grab that real quick. The buffer helped me that time. There's our 5th medicine overall. And then this opens up to the right, and we're not quite done yet. We can get ourselves a few more of these 3-way shots. I think a weapon which gets the most use in terms of the secondary weapons of this game, appearing in multiple chapters, I believe. Still the best weapon in the game, even over our katana and Ultra Psychic Shockwave. It's good to open that door before you come back in here so that you don't have to deal with those guys again or walking around those guys, better said, to get to that pressure switch. Yeah, the knights with the shields are a little frustrating. Similar to the Dark Nuts in the original Legend of Zelda. Can't hurt them face on. Little mix here, a little hodgepodge. Some of the gray ones without their shields. And a one-off. I'll take that over 2 of these guys with the shields, though. The best strategy just to situate yourself somewhere far away. And each with a diagonal shot is your best shot. Like the Zals from The Legend of Zelda, these guys. They had some of these big ones in The Adventures of Link, actually, the second Legend of Zelda title. Remember them showing up in the Great Palace, just dropping in from the ceiling now and again. Very satisfying hitting them with that upper attack, which the Weapons Master taught us. There's our 6th medicine. No excuses for this next boss. Especially with Gary.
Boss beaters.
Once again, I like the Ultra Psychic Shockwave for its speed for safely attacking the dragon from the bottom of the screen. The dragon's weak spot is its head, so if it's standing, just hop and fire. Its main attack is to fire a quick shot of fire breath in 3 directions, one at a time. You'll find that if you're just off to the side of that first straight fire breath, that you can avoid it while still getting in a lot of shots, which extends to when he shoots out to the sides. He'll slowly approach you, so just reposition as necessary. Eventually he'll fly around the screen, so just jump to try to dodge his small flames. Heal up as necessary, but the fire breath only does 2 damage per hit. Just make sure not to get hit by the dragon himself. Repeat until he goes down, and you're moving on to the final chapter.
Sounds good, and there's our L piece. And this one will pay out the final 2 hearts to top us off in case you were curious. I think, there are only like maybe 4 hidden hearts throughout this entire game. Not a lot. But we got there. Looking good, looking good. Yeah, not nearly as hard-earned as finding all the pieces of heart in a Legend of Zelda title, but satisfying nonetheless. And just a bit of a dead end out here before we get a call from Micah. Urging us to come back to Sea Island, back where it all began. By the way, do you know how to get back to Sea Island? Alright, we go to the last page and say the magic words one last time. Back to the future. Alright, the final chapter, chapter 9. And doesn't this look familiar, class? Brings back good memories. Colors seem a little off, but not quite as lush as the first game, but not the cheery piece of music we heard in the first game. And look, seems everyone in the village has been replaced by a boar, right? Yep. Except this kid. How'd you avoid that fate? Strangest thing is that when came back from fishing, they've all changed to wild boars. Alright. Let's roll up the sleeves for one last dungeon, class. And there it is. Kind of a remixed version of the original dungeon theme from the first StarTropics. And got some hearts here, which you should have no reason to need at this point. I'd be very confused as to how anyone would get this far in the game and still need those hearts. Yeah, all looks familiar. Gotta be careful when you're jumping on a long row of these platforms. If you tap the A button too fast, you can jump a little bit short and end up in the water. Found that out early on in this game, so. Sick of that sound yet, by the way? The psychic shockwave. And yeah, I think this is the 3rd chapter where we have the 3-way shot. In this room, just like in the original, the right wall opens if you find the right switch. That'll give us some medicine. And the other one is for the actual exit, but let's stop off here real quick first. There you go. And just like in the original, that's right, double medicine. Except I don't remember all the spikes and everything. There you go. I don't think we've lost a life yet on that, actually. They must be resetting the lives, too. I didn't even notice that, but we've definitely had more than 3 lives. Virtue of those signs in the past, and yet they keep knocking us back down. Just need to kill the bats in this room to unlock the door, but coming up on the next boss, and it's a familiar one, Gary.
Boss beaters.
Okay, a slightly different strategy than I recommended in the original StarTropics for this rehash of that game's first boss, because between our arsenal and the boss's attack, it's a different situation. The safest and best way to fight this boss is to position yourself on the center island just to the left or right of the mouth. Get to the front of the platform and use the three-way shot when the boss opens its mouth to get a couple shots in and retreat to the bottom. This puts you in a safe spot from the side flames the boss also shoots out. Nice to see he learned a new trick. You can get one last hit in after he closes his mouth, but that's pretty much it. Just keep baiting the boss to attack either on the left or right side of that center platform that's standing on the opposite side, and performing this strategy to take him down without taking a single hit. Something you'll appreciate during the upcoming boss rush. Yes, you heard me right, class. Boss rush upcoming.
He's right. Revisiting every previous boss in this game, well, the major bosses at least. No Zodasaurs in our immediate future, but... Alright, so before you jump on the conveyor belts, get yourself the hidden medicine and the hidden three-way shots, and take the bottom one and be ready to jump against the current here to make sure you can maximize your loot. So grab medicine there, take the... Well, grab the medicine and then jump backwards to take the left of the two routes right there. Grab your 6th medicine. Go up here to grab your 7th. And then we can grab one more. And if you want to jump against the current, you can actually grab that medicine up there, but probably take more damage crossing the spikes than it'll be worth it. But that is how you maximize the medicine in that case. That's the most you can possibly get with the best route. Hello? Monochrome here now. Save for Mike, and it's Yum Yum again. Doesn't have a board to keep him fed this time, so you actually get to see his moveset. Not going to be bringing back in Gary for any of these, because the strategy is pretty much always the same as before, but we now have the Ultra Psychic Shockwave, so it's usually the best weapon to be using in these cases. Just for the... Keep banging that drum again, keeping your distance. It's the safest way to approach most of these bosses. Down goes Yum Yum. Now moving on to the Chapter 3 boss, or one of them in the Scorpion. Yeah, a lot of these bosses just don't hit as hard when we have the range of the Ultra Psychic Shockwave. Which is why it's so important to keep your health up, obviously, so... Dig into your bag of 8 medicines as necessary to keep your health at least halfway up. For that 10 heart cutoff. That should do well for us. That was a nice line. Now I'm thinking the Pharaoh Mask. Yep. Just watch out when it switches, but that is creepy. And we can still be slightly off-center from those shots, as I believe Gary recommended earlier, and get our shots in. But I am perfectly happy for you to definitely stand up there, or hover up there, better said. Simple as. Everything's more satisfying with this weapon. Drop to the ground here, and Zoda-X now. This one's always slightly frustrating because of the randomness of these tiles. Gotta be close. There we go. Haven't had the dip into the medicine just yet. Trying to think of who would be next. Yeah, this guy's gonna say someone from the mines. The range certainly helps on this guy. Just need a good line like this. One or two of those will put him down. There we go. Doing his little need to use the restroom dance. Who's next? Ah, Zoda-Y. Zoda-Y. This first phase should be cake. Especially with these bats going down with a single hit from this. I was gonna say, yeah, it's the feather phase, which is gonna be a little more challenging. Don't have the range that we had with our three-way shot, which could switch to. Yeah, let's go three ways here. Don't have to be quite as accurate. That is the one shortcoming of the psychic shockwave in any form, but yeah, versus the three-way shot. There we go. Health meter started going a little crazy there. Let's top ourselves off here. There we go. Don't want to be wasteful. Alright, back to the Ultra. Not going quite as smoothly as the first go-around. By the way, immediately after this battle, we'll get our health topped off, so keep that in mind with regards to your medicine use. Don't resort to it unless you are very low on health. You should be ready to go here. How much more you got in the tank? It was a bold move, just slowly approaching us without any offense there in the end, but we'll take it. And now, as mentioned, we get to top off our health with one of those weird, probably not FDA-approved capsules. Right there, and time for the final boss here in StarTropics 2. Gary, take us home.
Boss beaters.
The final boss in Zoda isn't really anything special, just a class in jumping over projectiles while keeping your distance and attacking with the Ultra Psychic Shockwave. He has a Super Shredder-like move, which will mutate you into a defenseless wild boar and back again, though it wears off after a dozen seconds. Put enough shots into him, and he'll show his true and final form of some kind of devil lizard creature who looks more imposing but plays exactly like the first phase. He knows a couple extra tricks in this phase, including creating some exploding lightning bolt bombs which you can jump and run away to avoid, and a couple quick moving lines of flames which are also easy enough to avoid. Just keep your distance, keep jumping over his attacks, and keep shooting, making sure to use one of your hopefully many medicines to keep your health above 10 for the Ultra Psychic Shockwave. Eventually you'll take him down, and congratulations, you have beaten StarTropics 2.
Thank you, Gary. Can't smoke him yet. Haven't gotten to that second phase just... Alright, here we go. And we're a boar going into it. Fantastic. That's a good shot. If I were a wagering man, I think I would go with the giant demon lizard creature right there versus the boar, but thankfully it wore off. So my money is on the ace high school pitcher. We're not condoning betting on high school sports, by the way, here on Video Games 101. Just this very specific scenario. And we still got plenty of medicine, so can't take it with you, class. Probably get you kicked out of the high school sports league, actually, if they ever tested for that, so. It's just for recovery, coach. Yeah. I teach you about how to move diagonally on the baseball field. This is how you repay me. That's a callback, class. We could be using our... Alright, don't even need to use them. I was gonna say, could dip into the three-ways, but... Down he goes. Yeah, that phase wasn't too dissimilar. As Gary mentioned. Good luck. I don't think we need it at this point. There's Micah. Second time in a row we've saved you. Meet you at the Chief's hut, so now you can talk to everyone again back in Coral Cola. All the Coral Colons. You got it, fishing kid. The press, I hear you went through time and space. That's cool. I caught a big fish. We've both been busy. A miracle, a same line from the first game, like that. There's a callback. Another generic thanks for saving us, Mike. Let's talk to everybody before we see the chief. Rare roast. What a barbarian. We heard the same thing back in wherever it was. Oink oink. Did enjoy being a wild boar too. Alright, well, let's get Zoda back in here then. What a great boy. Alright. Like 16. Okay. Thank you. And there was always something, a will they won't they, with Miss Coral Cola from the first game. You'll kill yourself, or you'll kill someone else if you use the Ultra Shockwave, and I doubt you have 10 hearts required. But anyway, there you go. Let's put them together. This is where you need the do 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 do. Is that music from the first game as well? Nice piece of music. It's a master Tetris player. This isn't even level 0. What speed is this? I want to play this version of Tetris where you can pick your pieces and put them together as you like. With no challenge whatsoever. Just looks like we're making a giant trident or something, or what was it, the Superfi? The old Dane Cook reference? That's a dated reference now. Yeah, that's the super finger. When you're very upset with someone. Flash warning here. It's going back a good 20 years now. Almost as far back as this game. Oh, it's a sweet talisman from HeroCon, her father. I'll be thinking about you, that's nice. Flash warning here. They were still doing that in one of the final games on the NES. Can I visit at least? Oh well. There they go again to be... I was going to say kidnapped again, but nope. This is the end. Bittersweet as it makes the ending. We meet up with our uncle again. Exchange some words. Alright, there you go. Well, big thanks to all my TAs for helping me out today. Couldn't have done it without them. Oh, Sinfield, excuse me. It looks like Mr. Littman. The guy's name is Sinfield, but anyway, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to enroll in Video Games 101. We do one of these classes every single week in the same spot. We'd love to have you enrolled. Click that like button too if you don't mind. It really does help us out to make future classes for you. And leave a comment. Have you played this one before? Did you even know that StarTropics had a sequel? Or maybe you knew about it, but yeah, I don't think this one got nearly as much play, so wouldn't be surprised had some members of the class never played this one. Hopefully you'll be inspired to maybe pick it up now. along with this walkthrough. As we enjoy the credits, all the famous figures and creatures we put down. Famous figures we met and assisted, and creatures we put down. Better said. King Arthur. Like the kind of sketch artwork of all these in the book. It's a nice touch. Oof. It's the serpent again. Cool that they brought that back. And yeah, there is Zoda himself. Like he's in linebacker position or something. And Huracan. And Genyo Takeda. Well done. Well done. One of the best series on the NES, just by virtue of there were only 2 of them and they were both good. But still, nonetheless, what a wild adventure. If I hadn't lived it, I wouldn't believe it. And as we close the book on StarTropics, literally, our high school baseball coach is like, where the heck is Mike? Championships tomorrow. But that's our time this week. We'll see you all next week in the same spot for next week's class right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.